into legal technology and why it's become such a hot topic in the legal sector at the moment. And we have two great speakers for you. However, before Alan and Lauren speak, please let me introduce myself. My name is James Knight. 20 years ago, I myself was a student here. Things have changed a bit since then. I now work in the expert services team for CROL, where we produce independent expert witness testimony for construction disputes. I'm also a committee member on the CIRB for the West Midlands. The CIRB is a professional organisation representing the interests of alternative dispute resolution practitioners. We have over 17,000 members, and that includes 10,000 student members. Particular interest to yourself might be that student membership is free. Instructions for anybody that wishes to join can be found online, or if you wish to speak to me afterwards, that's fine. The benefits of joining CRB is opportunities to attend seminars such as this. There's regular networking opportunities. There's issuance of literature to keep up to date with industry news. And there is also opportunities for training either face-to-face or online. Firstly, we've got the first speaker is going to be Lauren Watson, and she's going to be speaking to us about how legal tech is being used nowadays. And then secondly, we should hear from Dr. Alan Marr, who, as many of you know, is a law lecturer here at BCU. Alan's speech will then be followed by representatives from Robbie and AI, who will give their inputs with regard to legal tech. Alan's their speech will then be followed by a question and answer session, in which we'll be given an opportunity to ask questions of the speakers. And then we'll have a networking session for you to make further contacts or give your opinion.
Thank you. You have to bear with me, guys, because I did write my speech on my laptop, which I then forgot to print, so it's going to be a phone situation, and it looks like this is untrustworthy, so I'll hold it here. Really great to be here with you all. I don't know if this is giving my age away, but when I studied law, there was not even a mention of legal tech during the 5 years. I think it's like such a cool opportunity now that universities are actually getting involved in educating people about legal tech, because law has a bit of a reputation for being like quite a dry area, and sometimes I think a lot of students aren't sure what they want to do when they graduate. I don't know if this resonates with anyone in the room, but I thought I wanted to be a barrister. I thought I wanted to go to the bar. And then when I actually started working as a barrister's assistant, I was like, hang on, I really don't want to do this. This is not at all what I thought this job was. And I was just really lucky, actually, that I fell into legal technology. And so I think these kind of opportunities that give you exposure to what legal tech actually is, and there are lots of really cool career opportunities within legal tech for law graduates, is just a really awesome thing. So before I kind of kick off, I did want to thank everyone who put together this event. So I know that Dr. Alan Marr is really passionate about giving opportunities for law students to understand more about legal technology. I think you guys are going to be the first group that get to experience the legal tech module at BCU, which I think as far as I can tell, there's only a handful of universities in the UK that offer that kind of module. So I think that's extremely cool. I think also just the opportunity for the UK LTA to be involved in this kind of thing is great. So the UK Legal Tech Association is a membership group of students. We definitely have students as part of our team as well. You can come to events and things that we host, but most of our members are legal tech companies, legal tech startups. We have law firms as members. We have in-house legal professionals, and it's just a really nice collaborative opportunity for you to understand a bit more about the legal tech space and to get a feel for what does legal tech actually do for law firms, for in-house lawyers in their day-to-day. So a bit of background about me. My name's Lauren. I'm the chair of the board of the UK Legal Tech Association. I've worked with the UK LTA for a few years now. I started off by working with them on their tech sounding board initiatives, which were really bringing together lawyers and tech companies to understand what the different use cases are for legal technology. I've been on the members board for a few years, and that's really about making sure that the membership of the organization have a voice in the direction of the organization. And my other job is head of product marketing at Robin AI. Robin AI is a tech startup. You might have heard about us because we got a very unexpected shout out from Rishi Sunak in his speech on AI last week, and in the run up to the AI Safety Summit, which is taking place this week. We did not know that was happening, so that was a very cool, frantic amount of messages from friends and family being like, did that just happen? I was like, I don't know. I will go back and watch. But basically, my background is I studied law at Queen Mary. I did an LLM at SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies at University of London in international human rights law. And I really wanted to be a criminal defense barrister until I understood what that job entailed. And then I quickly panicked and realized that I was not cut out for that at all. And I was very lucky that through friends and people that I knew within the industry, I fell into my first legal tech role with a company called Crowd Justice. It was the first legal tech product that enabled crowdfunding for legal matters. And as someone who was very passionate about international human rights law and access to legal services, I just completely lucked out because we had the opportunity to work on all these different fundraising projects for really big public law cases, including all of, I don't know if you guys are too young for all the Brexit related litigation, but the prorogation of Parliament case, all the things which you probably learn in public law now. I don't know if anyone's doing public law or you have to do public law. When I did public law, it was like horrendously stale, and nothing can happen for like 75 years, but I assume now public law is quite an interesting, up-to-date kind of class. So I think I wanted to start off this speech actually by just talking about why it's so important to be talking about legal technology. I think what the next generation of lawyers are going to face in the workplace is very different to like the previous generation of lawyers. And I think what you might not realize from just kind of studying law is that actually loads of legal tech is already used in law firms, in in-house legal departments. And that could be anything from like, how do you triage the workflow within a team? Or how do you onboard new clients into your law firm effectively? But I think the reason it's so important to be talking about legal tech right now is because of the developments in AI. I think there are tech advancements that have happened this year, which are like genuinely unparalleled. Like I know lots of friends who we kind of all grouped together to look at some of the functionality that AI was delivering. This was like almost a year ago now, and everyone was just blown away. Like, this cannot be possible. How is it producing these kind of outcomes? How is it producing these results? And so I think like if I was back at uni now, I would want to know like, how is my role within the legal industry going to change? Like, do I need to do anything differently now that there's lots of new tech which is actually changing the way that lawyers not just manage their businesses or manage the work in the in-house legal teams, but actually changing the way that the practice of law actually takes place, like how legal services are delivered. So the reason I think legal tech is such an important area to talk about is that I think I didn't know this when I was at uni, but the legal services market is such a huge part of the UK economy. So legal services accounts for about £45 billion a year. It's one of the things that the UK government is constantly touting internationally as being one of the big success stories of UK industries. There are tons of big multinational companies that will come to the UK specifically to resolve disputes because it's renowned for its expertise and for the quality of the legal services that it delivers. I think one of the really important things about legal technology is that actually, if you think about the nature of legal services and its importance, every single business is underpinned by contracts. Like, whether or not you get access to legal services can completely transform your life as an individual or as a small business. And so the role of legal technology can be really huge in actually shaping access to legal services, which is something that I personally care a lot about. So I think it's the Law Society, no, it's not, it's the Solicitors Regulation Authority stats are absolutely insane. Like, they did a report in 2017 about access to legal services from consumers and from small businesses. And something like 2/3 of all businesses don't get access to the legal advice that they want. And that's because most businesses are mum and dad businesses, or they're small entrepreneurs, like solo entrepreneurs who want to create a shop on the high street or whatever, it's critical that those people get access to really high quality legal advice. But right now, if you look at how all of the external market perception, if I asked you, like, what do you think about lawyers and law firms, probably tell me they're very expensive, they're very slow, and what they do is very complicated. We need to actually flip that on its head, because legal services shouldn't be like that. And there's a lot that we can do as a kind of community of people who are engaged and interested in legal tech to actually start to transform that. So I think technology can really help to just actually make it much more easy and simple for people to get access to legal services. And that's not just about small businesses or businesses in general having access to high quality legal services. It's also about consumers as well. So I'm aware through the work that I do at the UKLTA of lots of really exciting startups that are trying to leverage the power of AI to do more work within the consumer space. So there's a couple of different companies now who are trying to automate things about like employment settlements. So right now, if you get fired from your job, it's really difficult as a consumer to actually push that forward for like an unfair dismissal case or something, because if you weren't earning a lot of money to start with, not many lawyers are interested in doing that work, because they're like, well, you might be able to get 3 months salary, but actually your salary is really low. So is it worth it on balance? Probably not. My legal fees are X, so don't bother. Whereas actually, like, there's a lot of work that you can do harnessing the power of AI to actually change the shape of consumer work as well, which I think is really exciting. And I wasn't sure whether to include this final point, but I know lots of people at the Law Society who are really focused on work around sort of mental health and burnout in legal services. But I think that it's also really important to learn about legal tech as students, because it can actually help you do your job better. If some of you guys end up working in big city firms where there is a lot of pressure to deliver work really quickly, and there's just a lot of pressure in general, which can lead to burnout and other things, I think having tools at your disposal that actually enable you to work faster and better as a lawyer is invaluable. And understanding what tools you can use to actually take admin off your plate as well, automate more of the processes that are around your work, that can actually help you be more successful as a lawyer as well. So I think one thing that I certainly did not understand when I was at uni was a lot of what lawyers do is not doing lawyer work, by the way. Like, a lot of what lawyers do is admin. A lot of what lawyers do is like entering how much time they build into a system. Like, a lot of it is just like not exciting. But you could use tech to automate a lot of those processes and a lot of those boring admin tasks. So actually you're doing the exciting stuff, right? Which is actually trying to unpick how you're going to help someone manage their dispute, or how you're going to help someone to set up a new office for their business. So lots of opportunities there. And I think those things combined, like, there's a lot of layers to why I think legal tech is so important. But I think if we look at all of those different factors, I think, you know, it's really useful to think about that for the future of your careers. So I've covered some of my personal views on why legal tech is so important. I think the reason why I have worked with the UKLTA for so long is that everybody who works at the UKLTA is just very passionate about the way that we get more people to adopt legal technology. So what you might see when you guys come into, if you decide to go work for law firms, for example, is that there's a really big difference between the kind of top of the market UK law firms and the kind of long tail of other law firms that there are in the UK. So by that, I mean, I think the latest Law Society stats is there's about 9,000 law firms, I think, in the UK. And if you think about that, the top end of the market, as in the top 50 law firms, account for more than half of all of the revenue that's generated. So what you get is these huge, mega global billion-dollar law firms, magic circle law firms, things who employ thousands and thousands of lawyers. But then actually the real world access to legal advice is often done on high streets. You know, it's often done by small boutique law firms. And those are the people who are actually helping with, you know, small business challenges, helping the UK economy grow by actually fostering innovation and building people's interest in legal in kind of entrepreneurship. And they're also helping people with family law and immigration and all of the things which really matter and underpin our society. So the UKLTA is just trying to think about how do we help that long tail of law firms in the UK who might not have access to the very shiny London office with 100 people employed in a tech department to figure out how you're going to use AI. Like, what do you actually do in a small law firm where you don't have anyone in a tech role? You've literally, it's just a team of lawyers, might have paralegals, might have secretaries, but no tech support. Like, how are you going to help that law firm to really understand how they can leverage legal technology? And that's important because often those firms are the ones that are on the front lines. They're the ones working in local communities. They're the one helping local business owners. We need to help them to be more efficient. And one way to help them be more efficient is to help them understand where they can adopt legal technology to actually improve business outcomes, like improve the outcomes for their clients as well. So I think in terms of the type of stuff that we actually do at the UK LTA, some things that I think are particularly useful to students is we do things like demo days. So what a lot of law firm owners might struggle with, let's say you're the managing partner of a law firm in Birmingham and you've got 20 partners and 20 associates and 10 paralegals. Like, you probably don't have time to sit down for an hour with a legal tech company to find out what it is that they do. So what we do is these things called blast demo days. So every legal tech company will get up and spend 5 minutes just saying, okay, what is it that we do? Like, what is our legal technology? And what are the use cases? What are the applications for this technology? And that just means if you're like a busy lawyer, or actually if you're a student and you just want to get a taste for what even are the legal tech products, you're able to really quickly digest, like, what are the different tools that are available. And then I think in terms of like the actual companies that form part of the membership of the UK LTA, I would broadly break them down into two buckets. We've got law firms, we've got legal tech companies that focus on the business of law, and legal tech companies that I would describe as focusing on the practice of law. So when I'm talking about the business of law, I mean the actual mechanics of running a law firm. So again, I don't know if any of you guys have worked in law firms yet, but running a law firm is really hard. Like, it's not an easy job. And I think that what law school does really well is teach you all how to understand the law, how to apply the law. But if you end up working in a law firm, if you think about what a partner in a law firm is, they're mostly responsible for client relationships and business development and bringing in money into the firm, bringing in new relationships. No one tells you that at uni. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the pinnacle is you reach partner and you get there by being a really good lawyer. You don't get there by being a really good lawyer. You get there by being a really good business developer, a really good rainmaker, or whatever they call it in the city. And I think that, like, if you're going into law with those kind of ambitions, then even more important to look at legal tech, because you want to be understanding all of the tools that are going to help you to be both successful at practicing law, but also are going to help you to rise to the kind of top if that's what your ambition is. So to outline some of the things that are very frustrating about running a law firm is that you have to think about client management, like how are you actually managing your client base? You have to think about billing. So a lot of big firms will bill clients in 6-minute increments, right? And that means they're charging in a billable hour model. Someone's got to input that information and calculate that and invoice the client and chase the client and all those things. That's all part of the fun and games of running a law firm. You have to meet all of the anti-money laundering requirements. So when you're actually starting new work for a new client, you can't just be like, oh, great, what is your problem? Fantastic, sit down, tell me all about it. I'll take you on as a client. You've got to put that person through a barrage of checks first to make sure that they're not a criminal, make sure they're not on a PEPs and sanctions list somewhere. And like, these are all the things that no one ever told me about when I was studying law that I wish someone had told me about, because actually running a law firm is really hard. And part of the value of legal technology is that it can help to automate all of the things that are really annoying about working and running a law firm. So I'm not saying that any of you guys have aspirations to like immediately set up your own law firm, but even if you're part of a law firm, you're expected to be involved in all of these things. And so like knowing about what kind of legal technology is available is really useful, so you don't just get sort of panicked when you see that there's actually quite a lot of admin and not just all legal services that you're doing. So to highlight some of the legal tech companies, so Armalytics, Tom Lies is on our board at the UK LTA. That's an unbelievably cool company that is focusing on one problem, which is how do you understand more about the client's source of funds? So you think, again, One of the things which I did not know about when I was at uni is that if you're buying a house, for example, and you want to use a lawyer, the lawyer can't just take the money, your deposit, and go, great, happy days, here's your house. They have to check where that money came from. They have to make sure that that wasn't the proceeds of crime, that you haven't laundered that money. And every lawyer who works in property law has to do that. And the way that they did it before is by asking you to send 6 months of bank statements from all of your bank accounts, and you go through it with a highlighter to see if there's any transactions that look atypical. Well, guess what? AI is really cool at helping with that kind of challenge, and there's legal tech that can solve it now. Another example is Safe Capital. So actually the former chair of the UKLTA, a guy called Matt Pennington, has founded Safe Capital, which is a way for law firms to manage their bank information and their payment transfers as securely as possible. A company called Legal, where I used to work, LEGL, they've completely transformed how you do client onboarding, and they've given law firms no-code workflows so you can build client experiences however you want to with your firm's branding. So these are all examples of what I would call sort of practice of law tools. So they're things that help you in the practice of law, which help you to be more basically free to focus on the substantive legal work, because you're not spending all of your time doing billing admin or other things like that. So I think, I put this stat in here, which I find mind-blowing, which I didn't mention before, but the UK, so the National Crime Agency estimates that between 36 billion and 90 billion pounds is laundered in the UK every single year. So again, that's the same, that could be the same as the entire value of the legal services markets in the UK. So lawyers are like very much on the front line of things like anti-money laundering, because you're handling a huge amount of client money. And so that's why tech in that space is really cool and really interesting. To pull up a kind of practice of law example, so actually delivering the legal services rather than like running a law firm or running an in-house team, I'm going to use Robin AI because it's where I work today, and I think it is just a really great example of the business of law and how you can change, the practice of law and how you can change the way that you actually deliver work. So our AI contract copilot right now is focused on how do you review and negotiate contracts? How do you use large language models and AI to actually find information that's buried in a specific contract or within a whole contract repository, so thousands of contracts. So I think the reason I thought that this was kind of an interesting point to raise is I can remember being a law student and being asked to read these like 60-page judgments where I would like reread the first paragraph like 15 times and get nowhere with it, and then have to like put it down and come back again and have another go. And I also remember the horrendous contract law textbook. I don't know if it's changed or if it's like as, no, I've got a head shake there. No, it's the same horrendous contract law textbook. But if you think about the amount of information that you have to digest and what it takes to actually like do a law degree, and then think about, okay, what does a normal person running a normal business know about their contracts? Like, you wouldn't have a clue. I feel like I got taught about 50 different Latin phrases that were all part of like studying law that I desperately needed to know. But if you were just like a normal person running a business and you had to set up a new supplier agreement or something, you'd look at a contract and be like, honestly, what is this? Like, I don't know what I'm agreeing to. I have no idea what I'm agreeing to. And I think that there's a really cool application now for AI and large language models to both help businesses to actually understand what is in their contracts, and also to help you as kind of future legal professionals to communicate really effectively with your clients. And they might be coming to you saying like, I feel nervous about this thing because I don't know what I'm agreeing to. And it's really hard when you spent 5 years studying law to explain something in very plain English. But that's one of the things that AI is so good at doing, is taking these really complex legal concepts and translating them into plain English. I know that I definitely could have done with some of that when I was studying. I don't know if you guys use ChatGPT and stuff. I'd love to have been a law student now and been like, oh, what can I get away with? No, don't do that. But I do think that for things like summarization, it is like unbelievably powerful. So if you think about how it could be useful for you in terms of like taking big bits of text and helping you to understand and digest those things, just think about someone who hasn't studied law and how daunting it must be to look at a legal document and be like, I have no idea what's in here, but I need to be able to understand what my obligations are so I can sign it, so I can do this business deal. I also thought it would be useful. I don't know how long I've been talking for. I get really in a time warp in these kind of situations, but I did want to quickly run through like what the different kind of uses of legal tech are in different types of businesses that I've seen through the UK LTA. So what we've seen with in-house lawyers more generally, and this is like broad generalization, is that they are generally much more eager to adopt legal technology than lawyers working in law firms. And that tends to be because the client that they are dealing with is actually the wider business. Like they're getting requests from different teams saying, I need you to look at this contract and tell us if there's any risks in it, or I need you to help us do a redundancy round in our HR team and you need help with that. And generally speaking, there's very few lawyers working in-house compared to like the wider size of the business. So they're having to do lots of different things, be experts in lots of different areas, and actually having tools that can help them to deliver really fast turnaround of advice to the rest of the business is highly valuable. So I think in terms of what I've seen, the applications of, or what kind of cool legal tech I've seen in the space, some of it is things that like Robin AI does, where it's how do you query contract data? How do you actually understand what you've agreed to? You as a business might have agreed to 10,000 contracts in the last 3 years. Does anyone know what's in them? Does anyone know what you're supposed to do? If you have any reporting, probably not. So using AI to actually understand that is really valuable. There's also tons of cool products which are there to balance workflow in in-house legal teams. So there's products like, so Brighter, for example, is a really cool no-code product which enables people to build their own journey for how they want requests to come into the legal team, which I think is pretty cool. So there's lots of different examples kind of within that space. And then in private practice, I think the anti-money laundering stuff, again, I don't know, I think you have to learn about it on the legal practice course, but I'm not sure that it's part of learning about stuff in your law degree. I certainly didn't cover it. But there's lots of really cool tech that can help to automate anti-money laundering processes. It can help you to manage payments. You'll probably get exposure to case and practice management systems, which are like, how do you actually manage all of the different bits of work that you're doing on behalf of clients? And we have lots of companies like that as part of the UK LTA. So if you go onto our website, you can see all the different companies that are parts of the UK LTA. And I know that they're all very open to hiring law graduates in particular across lots of different areas of the business. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to get on to talking about. Sorry if this is dragging on. The thing that I wish someone had told me is that if you want to get into legal tech, you don't have to get into legal tech as a lawyer. There's lots of different roles that you can do within legal tech companies that are really interesting, that will leverage your experience from studying law. And if any of you in the audience are thinking like, I'm not actually sure if I want to be a practicing lawyer, I want to be a practicing barrister, like you might want to just look at what other kind of opportunities there are to get involved where you're still in and around the law. If it's something, I'm still interested in the law, I'm still interested in access to legal services, but I am not a practicing lawyer at Robin AI. And I actually work in product marketing, which is completely different from what I studied. But all of the work that I had done from my law degree, from my other jobs, actually helped me to understand like, what do lawyers actually care about? What are the problems with the law? Why is it so slow? Why is it so hard to give people advice? And all of those things are really useful in my day-to-day. So I think I would describe myself as an optimist. Like I'm actually really excited about what the new era of technology is going to be for you guys, because I think I can tell you now, like no one wants to sit there just going line by line through a contract. Like it's the most mind-numbing thing to do. What you want is to actually do the exciting legal work, which is like talk to your client about, look, I don't think you can sign this because like they put this clause in and it is so risky and you don't have the insurance to cover this kind of thing if it goes wrong. So this is what I'm going to advise you to do. And you're actually like a partner to that business. You're like a strategist, you're helping them. Whereas like, you know, I think this new era of technology can actually just change the way that you interact, whether your client is the rest of the business because you work in-house, or whether your client's in private practice because you're in a law firm and you're advising businesses. So in terms of the kind of skills that I think it's useful to have, I think the main thing to understand, right, is that you could build the best legal technology in the world on paper, and you have zero adoption of it because no one understands how to use the technology or like what the best use cases are for it. And so it always is this combination of like people, process, and technology. And that's why I think law students are actually really great at working within legal tech companies, because you've got to be really good at connecting the dots, right? Like, what's the problem? How might technology be deployed to solve that problem? What input do people need to have to help to solve that problem? How am I going to map this process out? Like, those are all things that law students are typically really good at. And I think that for me personally, curiosity was probably like the main driver behind my success in legal tech. I was just extremely curious about how stuff worked. And I think lots of law students are also like that, right? Like, we have this law. Why do we have this law? Oh, because this judge said this thing a while ago. Okay, what other things did that judge say? That doesn't sound great. Like, did other people have a differing opinion? Okay, right, let me go and investigate what those people said. Like, that for me is like showing curiosity. Like, you want to get to the bottom of knowing why things are the way they are. And for me, that was really valuable in legal tech. So not just in terms of the technology, like, why does legal tech work in this way, or why do lawyers need a solution to solve this problem, but also just in terms of how legal tech companies as businesses work. Like, what do the sales team need to do? Why is it important that they have these kind of meetings? What do implementation teams do? Why is it important to have an implementation team? What is their goal? Why do they care about adoption? And so I think, like, if you're someone who's really interested to know why something is the way it is, this can be like a really great opportunity for you. And when I think back about the people that I kind of finished law school with, so one of my friends is now a product, so she was a product manager at a legal tech company. So product management is actually building the software, right? It's working with the engineering teams to build and shape the software. I have another friend who works in product research. So she literally sits down with law firms, with lawyers, shadows the work that they do, tries to unpick, like, okay, where are the bottlenecks in what it is that they're doing? Where could a technology be deployed to actually streamline or automate some of those processes? And then she goes and gets feedback when something's been built. Did that actually work? Was that a complete waste of time? There's lots of cool stuff that you can do in product research. I spent a lot of my career in sales, which was actually, how do you get the technology that you built into the hands of lawyers? If you'd have told me when I was doing my undergrad that I would have ended up as the head of a sales team, I would not have believed you, because I didn't think I had any of the skills that you would need to work in sales. But actually, I had a really good understanding of the kinds of challenges that law firms would be facing. And I had a good understanding of what they actually needed. And they wanted someone who could talk their language, who understood what a family lawyer was typically working on, or who understood how a conveyancing transaction worked. And I think, sorry, I've still got a few more things to say about the skills, and I promise I'll be quiet. I think the main thing that was really apparent actually on the skills front is how different a legal tech company thinks to how you're trained as a law student to think. So I was definitely told, and hopefully it's not like this anymore, that all you do is follow the precedent, like what has been done before, and then you take that and you just apply what's been done before, and that's your answer, basically. And I think that's kind of the nature of doing law in the UK, right? It's so driven by case law. You're just constantly looking, okay, what has someone done, what's been decided before, and kind of applying that to a new set of circumstances. And I think one of the cool things about legal tech was, it's like, let's forget what's been done before and re-look at this with a fresh pair of eyes and be like, how do we actually solve this with like a first principles approach? So not how do we solve this based on what we already know, how do we scrap everything that we know about this thing and work step by step to unpick what the bottlenecks are, what the challenges actually are, and come up with a whole new way of doing it. And I think that skill in particular is like not something I had at all when I left uni, but it's something that I've had the opportunity to like learn and develop since I've started working in legal tech. And I'm so glad I did, because it's completely changed the way that I think about even problems in my personal life and stuff. Like, how do you actually strip it back to its bare bones and kind of build and work from there? So yeah, if you guys are looking to think about what types of roles, I would never suggests like boxing yourself off to be like, oh, well, I would only consider being a lawyer or whatever, because there's so many interesting things that you can do in legal tech companies. And legal tech is a really big industry now. Like 10 years ago, it barely existed. And I remember like seeing news stories of, one of the companies I worked for, before it was like a really small team of us, and we'd raised like $1 million in seed funding. We were like, oh my God, this is the most money ever. And then we looked at like what was going on in the rest of the tech world, and we were like, okay, like, you know, that's probably what Facebook spends on biscuits a week. I don't know, but like, you know, that we thought that was really cool. But if you look now, what's happening in the legal tech space, you know, Case Text was acquired by Thomson Reuters for $650 million 2 months ago. Like, there is big money now in legal tech as well, which I think makes it a lot more interesting for students as well, because you can have a really, really lucrative sales career in technology, and especially in legal technology, because you've got the intersection of skills and like you've got the knowledge and know-how that's needed to actually really effectively sell products to lawyers. There's lots of really cool, interesting jobs in marketing. Like, a lot of my job is understanding how we communicate the value of what our product is to lawyers, and that's like it's not always straightforward, especially if you're working on like an AI product or something where a lot of lawyers might not understand what the product does. It's a really cool opportunity there to actually shape how people perceive your product, which is great. I talked about my friend who works in product. Again, like a career path I had never heard of before until I started working in technology, and I was like, well, that's cool. You get to work with engineering teams and help them to shape and build the design of a product. So all my kind of parting words are like, definitely go and look at the types of jobs even that there are within legal tech, because I wish someone had told me about them, because no one told me anything. I didn't even know legal tech was a thing, like, to be completely honest. I was like, oh, lawyers just use pen and paper, right? And part of that was driven by the fact that I'd worked with barristers who, I hope they changed, but did just use pen and paper, like lots of them. Someone used to, one of the barristers I used to work for would give me his edits with a red pen on printed paper, and my first job was to put them back into the computer again. And I was like, God, this cannot be my life. But I think like the world has changed since then, but the world's going to change a lot more in the next couple of years. And cluing yourself up on what the different opportunities are within legal tech, what different legal tech companies are doing. Like, you might hear the word contracts and you're like, oh my God, contract law was the worst module. I absolutely hate it. I don't ever want to have a job where I work with contracts. Great. There's so many other kind of cool legal tech tools that are either focused on like, how do you run a successful law firm, or who are doing things that focus on like family law, for example, or trying to help clients in immigration. Like, there's lots of different types of tech out there. It's not just all contracts business stuff either. There are some really cool other products. Even crowd justice, you know, my first job was like, okay, how do you help people who can't afford legal fees to build up enough money to go and take on public interest litigation? There's lots of cool opportunities out there. I'm very happy to talk about them later if that's of interest. I do have 2 colleagues from Robin AI. The reason I brought them along is because we do hire a lot of graduate lawyers at Robin AI, both in our legal and product team, which is the team that actually use the AI that we built every day, which is pretty cool. I talk to other people about the AI a lot. I don't actually use the AI a lot that we've built in my day-to-day, so you can talk to them afterwards. And yeah, I'll hand over to Dr. Allen.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Lawrence, sorry. Yeah, and it's my turn. It's Alama. I think most of you know me, but I'm still go through the process of introducing myself. Okay. You heard a lot about the extremely valuable knowledge, insight about legal tech. And that is about all about legal tech and all about the opportunities in this space. It's opened a new dimension to the law school, I suppose. I mean, you talk about not only the learning about contract law or tort or anything like that, but we also have the legal tech, more or less, now quickly become a career on its own. So, yeah, this is my topic. This is what I'm going to talk. Is being an academic now. This is the role of university in the context of legal tech. This is me, as I say. Yeah, I'm qualified in 3 areas: IT, engineering, and law. What next here is the I learned about law, and I have 20 years PQE, post-qualification experience in private practice. Before I came to BCU and turned myself into an academic. So I have practiced English law in 3 jurisdictions, the England, Scotland, and in Hong Kong. And also I was the training principal of 15 practicing solicitors. Now they are practicing in England and as well as in Hong Kong. One of them converted himself to become a barrister, and he's now practicing in the chambers of in his chambers in City of London as a barrister as well as an international arbitrator. So this is who am I. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is I start with talk about the trend of legal practices. Sorry, I'm a lecturer, so I use my style of going through the PowerPoint presentation. So that's my style. And I will examine what's the reason behind the current trend of the legal practices. Legal tech is now as an integral part of the legal practices now. From the university point of view, from the educator point of view, I see that that is actually the role of university is to bridge the gap between the practice and education. So that's why I come up with a new module, and which is called legal tech. And I will explain to you my journey of building up a module start from ground zero. And by doing that, I actually find out a new pedagogy model, which is called hackathon. Hackathon is, we use it for the computer scientists and training to IT personnel as a standard. But my hackathon is not the usual hackathon. My hackathon is a new model. It's a new hackathon. So I'm going to talk about the future of the development in this area. So, right, the impact of the legal tech. We heard a lot from Lawrence, and this is more or less. I got some statistics as well. This is to back up for the emergency new area called legal tech. Now, PwC is a well-known management consultant. They carry out any review, any survey every year. Okay, in the last 5 years, they come up with this result saying that a large number of firms have reported huge increase in terms of profit and also increase in fee income and PEP. PEP is the most important from the lawyer's point of view. PEP is the profit per equity partner. Okay, profit per equity partner. Per equity partner is the employer of the law firm. So this is the general trend that they could generate a lot of income, but it is not uniform. It is not every firm have a good year in the past 5 years. It is a highly competitive market, and some law firms actually go the other way, disappear. And also it is also volatile in nature. Sometimes you make a profit in 1 year, but you make a loss in the next year. So therefore, all the firm, they want to improve their performance. And one way to improve it and core to the improvement is to improving the use of technology remains the #1 priority for all the firms so that they could embrace and implement a range of new technologies. So this is how they see it, and it is not controversial. This is all the response from the survey saying that all the firms are using it. And how to use it? They use it to support internal support functions and in delivering legal services. So what does it mean? I put it here. In a typical law firm, you could divide the workers into 2 groups. The first group, we call it key earners. These are the qualified lawyers. So they go out and try to get work. All right, they're going to go to the beauty parade and showcase how good they are, how knowledgeable they are. Once they got the work, they got the client's instruction, and they have to do the work. They have to undertake the matters, and then they have to deliver the matters. And it is a cycle. So I call it a few earner cycles. I got this concept is by looking at my washing machine. This. Now, the cycle is not enough. Okay, you need to have a protective shield. I put it as a protective shield. This is what we call the. They describe the worker as overheads. Okay, the term is not that good. So the term seems that they are sitting there, they just pocket the money of the firm. But no, it is very important. You heard about Lawrence say about all this billing and all this paperwork and things like that. They are very important. Marketing. Firstly, you need to get the work. And business development. Marketing and business development, they are not the same thing. Okay? Business development, you talk about trying to acquire a new area, trying to acquire a firm, or dispose of a department, things like that. Regulatory compliance. So law firm, solicitor, lawyers, they're highly regulated. There's loads of regulatory requirements, and you need to comply with this. All right. So here AI can help, okay, or tech can help. Complaints. Clients is very strange. Clients, either you need the clients to get the work, to get the money, to get the income, but there's always a tendency that they want to complain. So you need to be very robust in how to protect yourself. And I've been explaining about the importance of having client's care letter. This is how they serve. In fact, this is you put all the qualification there and say that I'm not responsible for this and that. Okay. And insurance. Insurance, we talk about insurance, is the PI insurance, the professional indemnity insurance. That is very important. All right. So if you make a mistake, not to worry. The first thing you do is to inform your insurer. Okay. So if you miss the deadline, whoever failed to file any claim, miss the date, not to worry. Okay, not to worry. Just inform the insurance. That is what we do. And then we've got IT. IT, more or less like IT help. Okay, they are not legal tech people. They are the IT helping us out to organize the event tonight, things like that. Okay, cybersecurity is getting more and more important now. It's a threat. And accounts is to do with the billings and things like that. It's very important. Again, it's highly regulated. This day, nobody will do it manually. It's all based on the software. Know-how is important, of course. You need to provide the information to the fee earners and try to get the work. And then, of course, training. So The idea is if the washing machine spins very quickly, you could actually generate a lot of good things. You scale up your business, income increase and things like that. So all these good things. However, there's always one thing that is important is the money. Okay, how you have to invest in it. Investing, it is not only buying software. All right, so you talk about the capital expenditure. You build up the infrastructure and also the operation as well as personnel. You need people who got this knowledge to operate the technology. Other things like you need a cultural change. I heard about from Lauren saying that all the solicitor or worker in a solicitor firm, they are all passionate about this the change of legal tech, but there's an age limit, isn't there? There's a tendency about the age. No one is actually more than 5 years PQE.
That's where the most motivation comes from to change it, and then after that it goes.
Okay, so and also there's some you may have to we define the job roles because there will be people like the chief innovation officer or chief tech officer, or I actually come across an average called legal engineer. So I don't know legal engineer. I don't know is there any legal engineer. So what's the driving force behind it? The first thing I want to say is the client's expectation. The client's expectation is in the past, law firm tends to prioritize the quality of the service than making profit. However, it's very competitive. And also the clients also, because most of the clients, they are doing this digital transformation. So the law firm also equipped with this technology. So as I mentioned before, law firm needs to go out and sell. So they also want to say, well, yeah, we got this technology in place and we got good connection with the legal tech company and things like that. So that is one driving force. The other one is the operational efficiency. Is everybody wants to streamline the operation, and legal tech offer a solution. All right. So, mention this. I forgot to mention something when I talk about the different functions of the overhead as well as the free earner. Legal tech is indeed embedded into every aspect. It is not. You haven't seen what the chart I put in, the IT and things like that. I haven't put in an item called legal tech. Legal tech is not a separate item. Legal tech is indeed embedded into the legal services as well as all the items on the to provide the infrastructure of the firm. So operational efficiency is important. The next one, it is driven by the UK justice system. You know, the UK justice system is undergoing the digital transformation. All right, so more and more the court is happy to do this the remote hearing. There's a case management. You don't. There's all the paper disappear, and also the there are more and more welcome and open to use the technology to collect evidence as well as how you present the evidence. There are two cases. That was a long time ago. That 2016. There was a debate about whether the court accept information from predictive coding, and the court say yes, it is all acceptable. Now, to illustrate this point, the easiest thing is you look at what is happening in the court. What is happening in the court? You could see the inroad of the technology. This one, I don't know when, but I could certain it is not a picture, it is a drawing. I could certain it is before 2007. Why? Because 2007, the judges, before that, they still have wigs there. They still have the barrister, they have wigs and things like that. So I'm sure it is older than 2007, but you can see what I want to say is that there's a lot of paperwork, papers everywhere, books everywhere, and you could find a kind of box or briefcase here. Now, let's have a look at the range of activities throughout the years. This is 2016. This is in Supreme Court. By the way, House of Law is actually changed to Supreme Court in 2009. Okay, so this is the Supreme Court, and it is a big case. Okay, there's a lot of judges there. All right, more than 5, the usual 5. I think we have to got 12 here, and you can see there's still a lot of paperwork. All right, so there's a lot of paper bundle. It's 2016, but people start to use at least to use the laptop. Okay, but the hearing is still primarily controlled by the series of documents. Here, I did it on Monday evening. All right, 2 days ago, we got it on here because you can access the website, the Supreme Court website. You could watch the hearing in Supreme Court. And you can see, no more paper. All these judges, they have their laptop now. All right, it's government provided laptop. And they also got laptops. So all the paper finished. All the paper is gone. So this is how you can see the progress, the impact of technology in our traditional law area. That's the Supreme Court. The lower court, again, you can see people using this the technology to present evidence. In this slide, I don't know. Where's the judge? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, but you can see this is the somebody is giving evidence remotely, and just watching the screen. That's all. Now, this is an artistic impression of what will happen in future. All right. So this is what they call it, the court hearing. It's very spooky because you could only have the torso. Where's the legs? I don't know. But I think this is what they call the metaverse. They use the metaverse to say, but I don't know why the artists put the laptop here. There's no need to have the laptop, isn't it? But anyway, they think that if it's laptop, it means technology, but it's not the case. You could be a judge, whatever, somebody is giving evidence. Anyway, that's the future. You can see the impact of technology now today is even the traditional court hearing in Supreme Court, they are changing all the time. So what's the upshot? What does it mean? The trend is that all the law practices, they all adopt technology, and it's continuing and expanding, and it is exponentially. And it's a logical interpretation, saying that employer are looking for the digital fluent law graduate with legal tech know-how. Straightforward. I don't say anything. Now, this is where the university comes from, right? So what's my type role of university? Technology. Is to bridge the gap between the practices, because all the law firms now using the legal text as an integral part of their practice. So there is generally the demand, and the university role is to provide the supply of fresh graduate that can meet their demand. So this is a straightforward concept of demand and supply. Okay, I spot this concept 3 years ago, all right? Earlier than that, but only 3 years ago, I started to put in a proposal to the university and have a new course called legal tech. And I say, yes, we need that. And my proposal was accepted. That started my journey of building up this legal tech from ground zero. I say I have to build it from ground zero because there's inadequate conventional resources. Right? There's only a handful of universities offer this kind of courses or module, whatever. Sometimes they call it, even sometimes they call it law and technology, but it is a disguise of, it is not the actual legal tech in the way I see it. It is the disguise of intellectual property. So I need to build it from ground zero. Not many universities offer this kind, so there's a lack of data. All right, so I started to say, well, in that case, I build it, and I seized the opportunity to put forward to undertake the 2 staff student projects that happened in 2021 to 23, and in this project, the student. The usual way is to look at, say, all the literature review and things like that. And we also provide them with the commercially available legal tech so that they can have some hand-on experience, because I also need to design the workshop, to design the assessment. And during this process, I discovered hackathon, all right? But my hackathon is not the same as the hackathon that usual. I apply, being an academic now, I apply the usual action research cycle so that there's a continuous feedback, and I have to modify it, continuous adaptation. Okay, now let me tell you the finding of my 2 research projects. I just find that the volumes of literature and the sources, they all diverse and huge amount of data information. And in 2021, there were more than 10,000 articles being published. Okay, so it's come with a very important issue here, is the you need to distinguish what is right, what is wrong, what is valuable insight, what is misinformation and bias. All right. So this is a challenge. It is not easy. And the other one we discovered is there's a lack of definition about legal tech. What types of legal tech? People use the terminology called tech. AI is always AI, but it's not only AI. Okay, so we try to redefine the technology of legal tech. So we also want to keep it simple. We separate into 2 parts. This is the technology that's drive behind the legal tech. Legal tech, there's another type is the front-end legal tech. The legal tech using to do the contract review and things like that. And we look at the technology in general term. We've got robotic process automation. Yes, the one fall within the red square is the AI. It's developing rapidly. Robotic process automation, I would say, is quite mature now. And the other one is blockchain. Blockchain is not AI. Okay? So I list out what I call is frontline legal tech. Okay, the code-based technology, like the document management system, virtual data room. In the past, if we haven't got technology, a data room is really a physical room with loads of papers. You go in there, lock it out, and this is what it is. Yes, I say this is the job for the trainee solicitor. Okay. And then we have collaboration tours, which is more or less like the Teams, MS Teams, all of management, due diligence checks. Okay, we use a lot. And on this one, I've got a story to tell you. Because before I came to BCU, I was in Hong Kong for 5 years. And we basically acquired by a city law firm, and they say, well, you need to use our super duper due diligence check. I say, oh yes, we use it. And then I find out why. All my clients fail because the scanner, whatever, cannot read Chinese. So I cannot report what failed. Okay. So we have to go back to the usual 6 months 6 months bank account and the Hong Kong ID card. Yeah, they failed to scan our Hong Kong ID card. And so that you can see the usefulness of having this technology. And we now do the e-billing, also knowledge management system and things like that. The online dispute solution is the platform that's useful, and smart contract. Now, that is why we find out people refer to blockchain and smart contract interchangeably, so they are not the same. This is how I classify. So all the finding that we find out is the whole area is developing rapidly, and the student, there's no way the tutor or lecturer can provide a guideline in terms of how they look for the information. So they have to learn about independency. This is very important. Independency together with the second items, how they distinguish what is variable insight and non-variable insight. That is very important. And lastly, I want to talk about this hackathon. But hackathon is not the usual hackathon, it's the new one. Okay, I may miss something, but I want to talk about anyway. I carry on. This is the hackathon that was in Hack the Midland. That was last year. This is the usual hackathon when to the computer people have a problem, and these participants all join in and try to create a solution. So this one is a typical one. The typical one is the approach. What is hackathon? Hackathon is all the participants cooperate and brainstorm and try to develop solutions, and they engage in practical hands-on activities, coding, design, and things like that, all these idea things. It depends on the nature of the challenge. They bring together individuals and diverse skills and background, a group of people, they could come all work together and find a solution. That's a typical hackathon. And they also think about encouraging thinking creativities and innovation. The characteristic is it will work based on a big problem, okay? So that is the characteristic of traditional hackathon. And always have a time bound, put in a lot of pressure and try to work on it, but it could be few hours or last for a few days. That's the typical types of hackathon. And then they present the solution to a panel, the judge. If the judges come from the big tax firm, you may get some funding. You will have a solution. But for our module, where do we get the classroom for 3 or 4 days? All right, so we have to modify it. So this is where my new model come in. Okay, this model is specifically designed for classroom activities that you can have a session maximum 2 hours. The thing is that is also the difference between the conventional legal education and the legal tech. Traditional legal information you heard from Lawrence talk about is fixed. All right, you talk about case law. You've done all this, the case law, Street and Mountford, 1985. It's fixed there, you cannot change. All right, but legal tech is not the same. The technology is changing every day. Every day you do a search, it's a new things come up. So this is characteristic. This is what we want. I developed this new hackathon model and try to capture this. And also we embed into future employability skills. All the skills they all embed is important. We will get the student to do the self-direct research, team collaboration, and all these good things. Yeah, so there's some challenges about specific to teach legal tech, which is, and try to use it in the same way, because when we have this module, we still have to get the course leader to program it and put it in the usual manner, do this timetable and do the schedule. So it is the traditional way, but we need to deal with it, the unique features of teaching legal tech. So we got a new model. The new model is, it is instead of a one big problem, there's a lot of problems. All right, because we've got a lot of, we want to teach you in a lot of dimension, a lot of other practice area. We've got the property transaction, we've got the M&A and things like that. So it is not a big problem. We need to make sure that you cover your knowledge, you cover the broad spectrum of the legal knowledge. Yes, the practice and material itself are innovative rather than what the student produce. You may, the usual group discussion, oh, the student produced extremely useful ideas and things like that. But the practice and the material is actually changing in innovation. It is change of complete change in terms of practice. And again, employability is important. So I took this one from someone who talked about education, very good in terms of education. I say, well, I substitute this one. The self-direct learning, yes, is a typical traditional education pedagogy approach. We've got a problem-based learning and also the open pedagogy. So these are all useful stuff, as the academic used to say is okay. But my new hackathon model learning and capturing all this good stuff. And let me talk about the process that I'm thinking of. So we start with the discuss the topic, discuss the problem, many problem, and then the student divided in the group, just like the group discussion, and it's up to them to talk about the scenario and the case study. Then the next one is divide. It's up to the student to work it out how they work in group, how they do the teamwork, and how they divide the task. And after that, they all go different way. All right. So it's up to them. So once they actually look at this package of work they want to do, this is what we call hack. This is how they hack. They use this self-direct research, and also they have all the freedoms and try to get the information from open space. Okay, and once they finish, they come back and they do the knowledge exchange, and this is how they present it in a united front. Okay, so that is my hackathon model, action research. We done the pilot study, but in the next module, who is joining me? Are you? Oh yeah, you are. You. Level 6. Yeah. Because we only offer to the level 6 student. All right, and we will try it out. And that will be in 2 modules. One module is the legal tech. The other module is the LM, what is CRB, conflict resolution in business. But of course, you're all graduate now, so it's the people coming. they will have the experience of my new hackathon model. Yeah, we still apply the usual action research. So we look at it, we change it, and improve it all the time. So this whole thing is collaborative between the staff and the student. That's all I want to say. I want to talk about